recording. So we have a backup recording. Do you want to do a backup recording on your Mac? I can show you real quick. Tell you how quick to do it, or
No, I'm good.
okay, cool. Hopefully Zencaster doesn't break again. And start recording, because that
Oh
would
yeah.
suck. I'm actually gonna keep an eye on it this time to see when it does that, because it started at like. Did you close out Zencaster?
No,
Hmm. Interesting.
no, it's still open in another window, or it should be.
Interesting. Oh. So what do you want to start out with? Start out.
I guess you can go ahead and start out with your weekend. Um,
Feel.
the way your weekend went and things like that.
Did we talk about
And
Voyager 2 last week?
oh, how we almost lost it,
Okay, we
kinda.
did. Okay, cool.
No, I'm sorry. I don't think we did.
That's okay. I don't remember if
Yeah,
we did either. Okay,
yeah, we
I'm
didn't.
not. We're not going to talk about Astra because I don't remember what that article was. I don't didn't read the article on Starship with the 12-mile high flight. I don't really. Yeah, whatever. That's a cool video. We don't need that meme, even though it's a funny meme, or this meme, even though that's also a funny meme. Talk about ASAP. Talk about the Starlink IPO,
Yes.
which would be great. Apparently, there was another software problem with the 737 Max.
What?
Yeah, I didn't really read it. I just saw that there was another one. Like that's why we just kind of talk. Like Boeing is just God. I feel so bad for Boeing. Not really, but I feel bad for the engineers at the lower level of Boeing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like yeah, we can we'll save that for after we talk about where we're the weekend we just had and what's coming up next for both of us.
Mars 2020 is at Casino, and Bill Gersten Meyer's now working for SpaceX.
Yeah. The Gerst.
The Gerst. All right.
I'll let you do the intro this time.
Cool. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 3 of the Rapid Unscheduled Discussion podcast. Here, not live, but recorded. I'm Seth, here as co-founder of Space Coast Launch Ambassadors, and I'm here with Daryl.
Hey, it's Daryl Sauce Photography. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I don't do much on Instagram and Facebook, but yeah, I'm really good on that Twitter.
So we've had this whole week. This week's been so busy. So much has happened the past week. I was looking
Oh,
because we were just talking off the podcast about how far, like Voyager. We have to remember if not we talked about Voyager 2 last week, and I don't think we did. And that was like that felt like
nope.
eternity ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, what all happened this last week? We had Voyager. I haven't even heard an update on Voyager 2 at all, but we had Voyager 2 stuff. We had one rocket launch. No, two rocket launches.
No,
Uh,
one.
no,
Well,
no, we had one
one
web,
domestic. One
one in
domestic.
the United States, and then one in Russia. Which I'm actually kind of curious about the one in Russia. That's a unique scenario out there in Russia. I'll talk about it. And then a whole bunch of fun travels for both of us.
Oh.
So,
Oh
do we go
man.
right off the start with that?
We'll talk about it at the end because it's actually it's not done yet for me.
Oh, true. That's
Uh,
right. That goes in the next week. So supposedly,
yes.
though, I guess we'll go in the Voyager 2 because supposedly I think there was an update though that I think they did get the message that the message was received and they got a message back that it was received.
Yeah.
Basically, I believe Voyager 2 saved itself. Like it had an issue. It's been so long. I should have read this before we went on. I just saw it. We got to talk about it. But
Uh.
okay, so it is. Okay, this was an update on February 5th. Awesome. Okay, it just popped up. Voyager 2 continues to be stable. At the communication between Earth and the spacecraft are good, and they have resumed taking science data, but I don't think they've resumed transmitting the data back to Earth yet, though.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, an update on the 5th. They said Voyager 2 continues to be stable, communications are good. So it's basically we had an almost
We had a hiccup.
kind of moment.
We,
Yeah,
it's what happens. It's
we
what
had a
happens when you
hiccup.
have older relatives. You know, you have hiccups. You know, oh no, things are happening. Nope, they're all good. They're all good. Never mind. They're still kicking.
Yep. Tell you what, these are
So,
some really old relatives. Let me tell
yeah.
you,
And
launched in 77.
I know
77.
it's so crazy.
That's that's.
And where did
I'm trying to do
I'm
math
trying to
after
see
I've been
where the
drinking.
number
That's
is.
like 7 years older than me.
I
Yeah,
I don't
yeah, 7
remember
years older.
where the I don't remember where I saw the stat. I thought it was in this update this article, but I think it takes like 32 hours for something to get one way, and so I think
No,
it's like it's almost like
no,
70 hours for them to come round trip.
no. There's actually a Twitter account that like a. I don't want to call it a parody because it doesn't sit there and make jokes and whatnot. It's just like a fan run kind of Twitter account, but every now and again it'll update, hey, it takes X amount of time to broadcast a
Yeah.
signal from Earth, and I think one way it's 16, round trip is 32.
Oh, okay. So okay. I thought it was round. That's an entire day. Like I can't
Yeah.
imagine as a developer trying to make a fix in my project and having to wait 32 hours of whether or not it worked. Like,
Yep.
what do you do with those 32 hours if you're only on that one project? Like, you just, all right, hit enter. All right, see you tomorrow.
Yep.
You come in at 9 a.m. and you just go back home. You come back the next day at like noon.
Yep.
Yep, that would be great.
Uh,
But supposedly,
so
though,
yeah,
that's all good.
good for them.
Oh, and I do have.
They managed to keep it going. Yeah, okay. I just went and found on Twitter. As of an hour ago, as a matter of fact, Voyager 2 is currently 17 hours, 8 minutes, and 53 seconds of light travel time from Earth.
17 hours.
So
It
yeah,
gets further.
17. Yep. It gets further, and they're still kicking. So good on them. Good on them.
Did you see? Hold on, let me share that. Let me share this with them. Did you see this video?
Which video?
I'm sharing it with you right now. The one of the video with is a someone videoed the in-flight abort test from airline.
Yes. Yes, I did see that.
It's so clear up there. Why did we
It's
have?
like,
Why couldn't we have that view? Like,
excuse me. I know, right? Everybody else, go home. You lose.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
you just, apparently just had to be in a plane and spend a couple $100 on a ticket. But like, oh man, that's such a
Yeah,
great video. It's so clear. Now imagine
yeah,
if you were
that-
on that plane and the pilot didn't tell you about it. 'Cause what I've heard is
You
that
start
pilots do.
freaking out.
Pilots are pretty good at like telling people of a rocket launch because that would be pretty
Yeah.
alarming if you're in a plane. There's a rocket
Well,
in there.
I mean, because of the NOTAMs that they have to fly around, they're like,
Yeah,
oh,
they
that's
pop
like,
up. There's a no. It's pretty hard for a pilot. I mean, it's almost near impossible for a pilot to not know
oh
about
yeah.
a rocket launch.
I
But
I think it's been a while since I've looked at an actual NOTAM, and I think it says Y in there.
yes, I do.
Yep.
Yeah, they have
So
they have
that's
the
helping
area.
out.
They have the company who offer
Mhm.
who's asking for it. The like contact numbers. Like for SpaceX, they have a number to SpaceX for pilots. Like for I don't know about pilots, but like for pilots to call for permission to fly through at certain times. Because even though for rocket launches it's different, but for other stuff like sporting events, or
Mhm.
like military training exercises, there's downtimes inside those routes that you can still fly through, and so you can still call and be like, hey, if I fly through here at this altitude at this time, is that cool? And they could be like, yeah, sure, and then they can route it through air traffic control that they're cool. But like, or other stuff, I have no idea. But I'm not a pilot. I just make apps for pilots, which is completely safe.
Oh, yeah.
Completely fine. Let me go back to our back up. I'll be honest.
So yeah,
Yeah, I'm looking through
so
it.
yeah,
It's just the next step
any
is Boeing, but we can talk about that.
yeah, yeah.
Happy things. Happy
Let's
things.
not
One
no,
web.
let's not
One
beat
web.
around the bush.
Okay.
OneWeb, all right. We'll go with OneWeb since you pushed for it. OneWeb
So
had themselves a really good launch.
yeah, so OneWeb
Um,
launched this is their second launch of satellites, but I think this is their first main set of satellites. Um, it's like 34 of them, I believe. They've launched in this one mission. They launched 34 from.
Yeah.
It was a Soyuz. It was the satellites were manufactured in Cape Canaveral, Florida, shipped to Russia, launched on a Soyuz rocket by Arian Space
Yeah, like
from Kazakhstan.
who else are we gonna get involved in this? Hey, Canada, you want in on this? India, come
I
aboard.
mean,
Like,
well, they're funded by people. They're funded by SoftBank, which is from Japan. They're funded by, they're funded by. I think they're like not Jeff Bezos. What's this? Richard Branson
oh,
is a fund is
oh,
a
okay.
investor.
Oh, good lord.
Yeah, it's like we just fit
It,
everyone in there. Like,
is this like the space flight version of Hands Across the? Oh no, that was Hands Across America. This is the space flight version of Hands Across the World. Like everybody had a hand in this one.
yeah, no, but it's super cool. So they and there's Spaceflight Now did an article about talking about it, and they have some interviews talking with the CEO of of OneWeb, and then talking
Yeah.
about
It,
Starlink, and that they're going for two different markets. So OneWeb's going more for what's the term? Not commercial,
business,
but like
internet.
more for like they're servicing a country rather than people.
Oh, like a government contract. Government.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's more like it's more. It's
Something.
not like at an individual level. Yeah, SpaceX is like
Right.
everyone has internet. Like if you buy it, you have internet.
Yep.
But with OneWeb, they're looking at more like it also it being more customized per country. So not anyone can get service from a OneWeb satellite. Your country has to support it. So they're gonna.
Uh,
So countries like China can still
could
be
still say no, no, no.
yeah. So like the idea was like that the country can still be sovereign over their internet, which I feel like is
Yeah. No.
personally I'm not for that. But you know, if a country wants to, it's their not my country, not my rules. So whatever.
Yeah, countries like China will, yeah, they're going to be like,
China,
oh,
North
no, no,
Korea,
no,
I
we
don't
don't
know who
want you
else.
finding out too early that we're about to drop a rocket on your head.
Hey, they deliver pamphlets.
Yeah. Like,
They deliver pamphlets, bro.
hold on. I was actually catching up on my podcast on the drive up to North Carolina on Saturday, which, for everyone who didn't realize, I'm not in my usual spot. I am in Mooresville, North Carolina, which is about 20 miles or so north of Charlotte. Um, uh, Buddy of mine is been nice enough to let me stay with him during the week while I'm chasing an Antares launch. I'll get to all that later, but I was catching up on the podcast, and it was a super cluster podcast with Robin Sumagle, and he had Michael Sheets on it. And Michael Sheets and his gang did an investigation into this stuff, and they actually found an image of the pamphlet that the Chinese government sends out. They do it 3 days before a launch,
That's
and they had somebody in their department translate it, and it said something about um, there may be a rocket falling from the sky, or I don't know if they called it a rocket. I'd have to go back and listen to it. I think they referred
material.
to it just as a missile.
Yeah.
No, they just like basically defined it. They didn't say debris or anything like that. They basically used a word that implies it's coming down more or less intact. So yeah, they say this rocket will be coming down somewhere near you in 3 days. They said make sure to turn off the power at your house, and if you see one of these coming to you, quickly move to a different area. Like that's it. That's
That's
all
horrible.
they sent these people. It's really horrible. They don't say anything about. They said don't approach it. They didn't say why.
Oh yeah,
You
we can
know.
see all those pictures
They.
happening of people not approaching a rocket falls from the sky. You're approaching it. Like,
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah,
yeah. And you have no idea what those red fumes coming out of them. We do. Folks like us do.
yeah.
But the general public's like, do you smell fish? Bah. So you have no
Yeah.
idea what the heck is going on, and that's China for you. And until they fix that stuff, I can't support you. every other issues that everybody has about China, separate from this, talking just space flight, until you give a damn about dropping rockets on people's heads, I'm not gonna.
How many launches do they had this year? They're at a lot now. I think they've had a couple. They've had a couple because they're out launching everyone right now. But I believe.
Dude, they're I use the Spaceflight Now app on my phone to tell me whenever a launch is coming up and things like that, or to keep track of them and whatnot. And I swear, every 5 minutes, long march, long march, long march.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell?
I tried keeping up with them.
Right.
I have actually right here. I see the updated stuff. I still haven't updated from like most of January, but like Nathan Barker's camera photography. You don't see it, but Nathan Barker's calendar that he has, and I've been like writing down every single launch that happens on that calendar, what day it happens, and the mission and the provider. I have it color coded too. All the different colors. ULA's blue, SpaceX is purple, Rocket Lab's red. Oh yeah. But I need to update it though. I don't even have anything from end of January from till now.
Seth, I see a problem with your system. Wouldn't Blue Origin be blue? Oh wait, they don't launch anything. Yeah, that's right. I said
got him.
At least not to orbit.
I was like, oh yeah, well SpaceX will be blue because SpaceX has the blue logo. But I'm like, well, ULA came first, so that's why I went. So ULA is blue. ULA came first, and then I don't know. Yeah, and the yellow doesn't show up well. So
in the interest of fairness, and one day eventually I will get into my rant about Blue Origin, but for right now, just so nobody can come at me, I'll say something nice about Blue Origin. They build some big buildings in Florida.
Dude,
they built a really big water tower.
They don't stop building. They don't. Like, I drove up there this last time, and I'm like, it keeps getting bigger. Like, their Commerce Way buildings, like complex, it keeps getting bigger. Mm-hmm. Their buildings at the Cape on their launch pad just keeps getting bigger. When are they gonna stop? Like, I don't know what.
And tell us what I'm saving this rant for another day, because this could potentially be like a whole half an episode rant, and I lost track of how far into this one we are already, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah, and speaking, so like we were talking about OneWeb, and they had a successful launch of all their satellites, and I think they have 10 planned this year, so 9 more I believe planned for this year.
Cool, good for them.
Either 10 more or 9 more. I'm not sure, but
aren't they the ones? Haven't they launched some on Falcon 9s before?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Vandenberg Polar
They
Orbits.
did some testing ones, and that's why they raised their satellites did so much better than they thought. Mm. They decreased the number of satellites that they're going to be using, so they're going to have less than 1,000, I believe, satellites. Oh, damn. And they're going to be much higher, and they're going to be able to do global service, polls, everything. They have a stat. They have a state. One of their in the Spaceflight Now article, they said that Starlink will miss about 40% of the landmass.
At the.
I'm assuming they mean like at the poles and like all of Antarctica, which is like cool.
Yeah.
Like cool. Okay. Like, oh no, we're not servicing Antarctica. Like there's nothing. There's like 500 people, or it's not. Yeah. It's probably a couple thousand. I'm probably completely wrong on that one, but they already have their own. I can't remember what Russia has. Russia has their constellations that do the pole communications, and they always have like 2 satellites open like up there the whole time. I think I remember Scott Manley did a video on it, but
yeah. So anyway, good
Second
for
launch.
OneWeb getting. Yeah, good for them. It'll be nice to have some competition in that market, because landline service is probably about to go the way to Dodo.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, yeah, until it gets probably cheap enough and it actually happens, and they can prove that the speeds that they're talking about are real. But yeah. So that was the first launch, and that happened. I don't even know when that happened. That happened middle of last week.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Wednesday or Thursday, something like that. It's been a long week.
It's been a long week. The longest of those days have been the end of the week, which is what we could talk about now, the lovely Solar Orbiter launch.
No. Something else happened before that.
What?
We're getting to that, folks.
Oh.
Yeah, it's
What did you
this. It's time to talk about it. It's time to
Oh,
talk about
ASAP.
it.
That's
No,
right. ASAP.
well, yeah. It started with ASAP. It started with ASAP. Um, so I'll go ahead and get into this. At the ASAP panel, it was revealed that we're up to three problems with the OFT flight from December. The first being, as everybody knows, the mission elapsed timer getting off by 11 hours somehow, which they explained in detail the next day. There was an issue with the mapping of the thrusters, which is basically the computer says, all right, if I need to fire this thruster, I need to do X, Y, and Z to make this thruster fire, and it was a mapping issue.
Oh, I
The
forgot about
third
that,
one,
and that one just pisses me off. Okay, we can talk about that
well,
later. We
the,
can talk about once I find what I'm looking for.
the third one was another software problem. This is all pretty much turning into software problems, although I've heard the thruster situation might be a little bit hardware related. But the third problem is turning into, not turning into, um, the third problem is a software problem that there's a program that when the spacecraft separates, um, the service module fires its thrusters to get it to go away and dispose of itself in the atmosphere. And somehow the program was messed up, and as soon as it detached, it would have made it boop bump back into Starliner. So yeah, we're up to three problems now. It came up in the ASAP panel, and Twitter just exploded. Everybody was going nuts. Like, are you kidding me? What the heck is going on with this? We're only just now hearing about this. So the next day, there was an emergency press teleconference. I guess they couldn't get everybody in the same room fast enough to have a live press conference. They had a number of representatives on the phone. Boeing, somebody from the Starliner team, somebody from the commercial crew program, and of course our old buddy Jimmy B, who we're actually going to talk about again, referring to what happened on Monday. So they were all going through talking about these things that happened. They gave some technical details, and they're talking about what's going on. And this this conference, like it sounded. If you weren't paying attention to details, it sounded humdrum. Probably could have put you to sleep if you didn't care that much about it. A couple of things I noticed was they basically alluded to a culture problem at Boeing, which, going back to previous tragedies at NASA, culture was a big issue. Um, Hell, at one point when they were talking about the newest software issue that came to light, they said they found it because of the first one, because somebody said, "Hey, maybe we should go and check everything else." And I'm like, "Why didn't you check this beforehand?" You know?
Oh yeah,
Um,
like okay,
you're a software guy, Seth. You work on this stuff for a living, so like
the
I'm
issue
sure
with
that
the
bugs are
mapping,
happening.
the issue
Yeah,
that they tested the mapping, and all of a sudden, oh no, they're firing the wrong. Like the thrusters are all wrong. The mapping is completely wrong after they do it. Did you not test it? Like,
yeah, exactly.
and I'm trying to find this
It's the
quote
culture thing.
from their statement, and I can't find it. It literally, I saw that and I'm like, that's a whole load of baloney. Um, but oh, here it is. Every possible. No, it's not it. But pretty much, here's one statement. We have
Hmm.
retired nearly all possible risk ahead of our uncrewed and crewed flight tests. We are confident that we have designed and built a safe quality system that meets NASA standards.
No,
This was
I'm
in their Office of Inspector General statement. Remember that statement
wait,
they came out with
they,
the price
yeah,
because it disagreed
they
with
told
their
that to
price.
IG.
Yeah, and there's a statement in here where they talk about the rigorous testing standards that they have. I'm like, that's so bullshit. Like, that's so bullshit. Because if you would
Yep.
have tested, this is not like a emergency system that never gets ran and it's a very one-off thing. This is like before your car. This is like you get a new car and all of a sudden you hit the gas and you don't go anywhere. You hit the brake and you start speeding forward. That's pretty much what it is. Like, this is a very simple thing to test, and they didn't test it.
Well, it's funny you should say that because at one point, one of the guys, I can't remember the names. I'm sure you've got it pulled up right in front of you, but one of the guys from, I believe it was the Starliner team, was talking about how they're going back and checking everything else. Now they're checking the next Starliner craft, and he made a reference to, yeah, before you get on the road and go on a trip, you check your spare tire to make sure, it's fully inflated and there just in case. And I'm like, did this guy really just refer to a Starliner vehicle as a spare tire?
That's a horrible quote. That's a horrible quote. But
It is horrible.
and the thing
I'm
is,
generalizing the quote. I
and,
don't have
and Scott Manley
a
brought
direct.
this up in his video. Scott Manley did a video, and I watched. And this is where like all of a sudden it all clicked in my head, and I'm
Spoiler
like,
alert! Take off the headphones. La 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 la.
uh, spoiler alert if you don't watch it. But pretty much, it talks about like he mentioned, like he said, these are first level code. Like this code will run every single mission.
Yeah.
What about the abort scenario code? That code probably never gets looked over. It was probably written and then viewed by a few people that tested it. But it's how are they going to run the code and test it? And if they're already their current testing procedures didn't catch these mainstream features, we can call them, that broke, how do they know that in practice their abort's going to work?
Exactly.
And it came from that. I'm like, they need an abort test. Like hands down, I hands down think they need an abort test now before crew goes on. Only thing that can like in-flight abort, because they did a pad abort.
Yeah.
They just launched it off a stand in the desert, which is good. That's what SpaceX did out on 39A. But
Yeah.
like,
No, 40.
how do you know that there's a variable when they're launching at max Q that all of a sudden breaks everything and shuts down the engines and doesn't fire them? How do you know? If they can't test their mapping of their thrusters after separation properly, how can they know they can test that?
Right.
And
exactly.
And the go back, like, I've met a lot of people who work in Boeing. I've met a lot of people who've worked with all the other SLS, SpaceX, and they are hard. Like, and this is not a person like an engineer issue. This is a management issue.
Exactly. We need to clarify our point on this, that we are not knocking.
It's the company as a whole.
Time.
Yeah, it's the company as a whole that has the issue, not the individual engineers.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are engineers out there. I'll bet if some investigating board was to dig into this deep enough, you'd probably find out that there was somebody saying, hey, we need to check this a little more because this could be an issue.
And the issue is, I'm not going to say who the person is because I'm not sure if that was on the record or not, but they were asked after landing, or it was soon before landing, I think it was after I don't remember what it was. Were there any anomalies? Were there any other anomalies? And they were flat out told no.
No.
Yep. They were flat out told to their faces no. I'm 99% sure this was after landing. And even after landing, they were saying that the mission was successful. And I don't know any. I mean, all right. I understand, like, as a developer, pushing software, there are always bugs. You're never going to find 100% of the bugs in any type of software ever. And when you push it to release. And then, but if there's a groundbreaking bug in your software, you patch it and you release that you patched it. You tell people that there was even if it was tiny, you tell them that there was a major bug, you fixed it, and it won't be a problem again. They patched the bug, and yes, this is a private company, it's their own thing, but this was publicly funded. So
it's also on a high level too, because human lives are literally at stake on this vehicle.
Their lives are at stake. Other people's lives are at stake. Our funding's at stake. Pretty much, our money's at stake. It's our money who paid for it, and they didn't release anything. That's really that's the type of company that I can't stand for them doing that ever.
Look, at this point. All right, after the first anomaly was reported and the way it was explained, and you sit there and think about it, and I'll believe what they said at the press conference afterwards. Had the astronauts themselves actually been on board, they could have caught it, and they would have been fine.
They wouldn't be able to catch the second issue, though. The
It,
mapping issue, they wouldn't be able to catch it.
they wouldn't have been able to catch that or the third issue. And honestly, if they hadn't done this test and had put astronauts aboard, they wouldn't have even thought to check for the other two issues. Because, again, going back to that, they said after the first issue was found, hey, let's go back and check everything else.
Oh, I
And that's
found the
how they
quote.
found the second one.
Are you ready for this
And,
quote?
oh, God, hit me.
Starliner development and flight prices incorporate the rigorous design, test, verification approach we propose, leaving no stone unturned to ensure we deliver a quality vehicle and service to our customer. That failed. That failed.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
as someone who does government contracting, they don't like that. They don't like it when you're wrong in your contracts. Like if you say
yeah,
something and you don't deliver, it's not good.
yeah.
I mean, and Boeing's one of the giants that's always gonna get government contracts, but like this, the
This is
issues they've
gonna hurt.
had the past week is not good.
And not just in spaceflight. Not just in spaceflight. And we won't go into it because that's not our area of expertise, but
Yeah, but
everybody and their grandma knows by now about the 737 MAX issue. To gloss over what else is going on with it, they've halted production, which is really bad because, now you got people out of work. You're having to refund all of these airline companies that have purchased these planes.
mhm.
So that's money you're putting right back out of your pocket. On top of that, and we mentioned this, I think, an episode or two ago, that they, in their earnings call, they put 400 something $1 million aside just for another flight. So, I mean, a company
They're
that
preparing
size,
for another
400,
flight. Yeah,
yeah,
and
they
I still
they got to know.
and after reading these, I'm like, you can't trust Boeing. I can't trust Boeing with their testing now. Like,
And
at least
looking forward to Boeing from here, it's we're gonna need another flight out of them. Like
mhm.
nobody can give them the benefit of the doubt right now. After that first issue, yeah, sure, maybe. With these two other issues that came to light, nobody can give them a
He,
pass. If you give them a pass, I believe they're paying you.
it's like
That's
you can't bat an eye at this anymore. And if you do, it's a little suspicious now.
yeah, and
I'm
then
wondering when they're gonna start opening up for like the commercial crew, like the second release of contracts. And I wonder, and I'm not exactly sure how that second thing's going because I know Sierra Nevada is competing for it with
well,
with their Star Chaser,
Chaser, Dream Chaser.
Dream Chase. Oh
Thank, Thankfully, they didn't call it Star. Everybody else is Star this and Star that.
my God. Yeah, and I don't like. I'm wondering if there's a chance for Boeing to get their not their funding cut because they're already going to get their original funding, but that if they have to compete for this next contract again for more commercial crew flights, if they're even going to be considered for even half of the amount of launches they had for this contract.
I mean, I expect at some point Starliner will be a functioning
Yeah.
vehicle that's going to be used.
They're gonna get selected again. Obviously, it's
They,
Boeing. They're gonna get
well,
selected
they're going to
again.
get there, and of course Starliner is still going to be in rotation. I mean, it's just a ride to the ISS. That's all it was built
Hmm.
for. Um, but after that, actually looking forward in the future, I actually worry about SLS at this point. I really do.
I mean, it's a jobs program. I have more I've learned about it, and the more I've become more immersed in the space community, the more I'm like, I think this thing could stay, because I'm one of the I'm like one of the few people who, unless they spend, I don't even know, unprecedented amounts of money, if SpaceX spends unprecedented amounts of money, SpaceX and NASA, to build infrastructure on the moon to support a
Hmm.
landing of Starship that won't destroy a lunar base there, because that's
Hmm.
the reason why like Starship wants to build bases on the moon and on Mars, primarily Mars, but be able
Yeah,
to support lunar bases on the moon. If that ship lands on the moon, I'm sorry, no matter it doesn't matter where that base is on the moon, it's not gonna do well unless they launch
no,
it. Even if they like people say, well, you can launch in a valley, that rocket's not gonna do well then because all the Lego that's gonna
exactly.
pick up, unless they do some serious infrastructure on there with landing pads and launch pads and all that stuff.
Hmm.
The only way I
And
can think of getting to the moon is SLS and whatever lander that they choose.
yeah, and that's going to be a topic for a different day.
Yeah.
But speaking of SLS and budget and things like that, what do you think? Should we start getting into this past weekend for both of
Let's
us?
talk
Because
about this
that.
past weekend. So,
Go
um,
ahead. I'll let you start. I'm going to make
so
another drink. I'm still here, y'all.
Monday it was a Monday afternoon. NASA had State of NASA, which is kind of like their own version of the State of the Union. President Trump gave State of the Union last week, and then they kind of reiterated that, but more of a NASA way with Jim Bridenstine on Monday. And I was selected for the NASA Social for that, and I got to drive up for that. And luckily, there was also Daryl had also been somewhat accepted for two different socials, I believe, and he could talk about that when he gets back. And luckily, there's also still the orbiter launch that happened Sunday night. And I want to wait for Daryl to come back because I wanted to talk to him about this.
I'm still here. I can hear you.
I can hear you too when you yell. So, can we just talk? How many socials were you accepted to this weekend?
One.
Weren't you waitlisted and accepted?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were okay. And the plan was Daryl was gonna come. We were come to the solar orbiter. And at that point, I don't think he was waitlisted. I don't think he was accepted. We were gonna go to the solar orbital launch together, and we had.
Nope, that's wrong. That's wrong.
Yes, we were.
I was. No. I was. Okay, so the timeline for me was I was waitlisted for the State of NASA at Stennis Space Center,
The better
where
one, the best one.
Jimmy B was speaking. An idiot me didn't check the dates, but I applied for every social just in case. And then I noticed the date for Solar Orbiter. I'm like, well, this will be interesting. Watch me actually get off the damn wait list. Sure enough, I get off the damn wait list. I'm like, crap. I'm going to Solar Orbiter because chasing launches is what I do. It's why I'm in North Carolina right now and have been for the better part of this week. And I email him back. I say, hey, thanks. Sorry, can't go. Chasing a rocket launch. It's primarily what I do. Funny thing is, an hour after I sent that email where I declined it, I got rejected for another one for CRS 20. But I was like, all right, whatever. So me and Seth were going to go see Solar Orbiter from the LC-39 observation gantry.
And the history with me with Atlas launches is a lot. I have a curse with Atlas launches.
We can talk about this is your fault.
I have a big curse with Atlas launches. So we were going to go to the 39 gantry. We got 39 gantry tickets for Solar Orbiter together. I was super psyched. It's like less than 3 miles from the launch pad. It's going to be awesome. What was it? Friday? Right?
Yeah, Friday when it all fell apart.
Friday where everything... I mean, if you go to a rocket launch and everything works out perfectly, you obviously did not go to a rocket launch. 39 on Friday, they canceled 39 gantry tickets because of wind speed changed, and so they just canceled them. We got a refund, and I'm kind of like, oh darn. Well, I still have the social, and the rocket launch will be there.
Side note, that refund hasn't come out yet. But anyway, keep going.
Well, I think they said like 6 days at the minimum.
7 to 10
like
working.
7 to 10, yeah. So you still have a whole another week.
Yeah, they'll take you
like
in a hurry, but they're slow to give it back.
Yep. So Daryl goes, well, I'm gonna go to NG13, right?
No. Just talk about your weekend first.
Okay. So I still got to go. I ended up renting my car. I rented a car. I don't drive my own car up because last Atlas launch I went to, my engine died. I live in Fort Lauderdale, so it's about 2.5 hour drive to Cape Canaveral. I'm driving. I get all the way up to Melbourne, which is about 30 minutes away from Cape Canaveral. And all of a sudden, something broke my timing belt. Every single warning light that could pop up in my car did. Like every single light turned on, and my engine just stopped.
Your car goes full Apollo 13 every time you go to an Atlas launch.
And it just slowly coasted to the side of the road, and I'm just sitting there like, great. I was supposed to get there an hour and a half early for the ULA social, and I'm now don't even know if I'm gonna make it. Luckily, one of my friends, AJ, who's on Twitter, who's one of my good friends now. I was borrowing a lens for him that day. He was able to. I got my car towed to a place. He picked me up. He drove me to the social. greatest guy ever.
Yes,
And I
indeed.
got to meet him again because he was at the NASA social for Save NASA this Monday.
Oh, word.
Yeah, it was great. It was great to see him again. And so I got up. So this Friday, I got up to the place fine. I was running around. Like every launch gets busier and busier for me with Space Coast launch ambassadors. Because last minute I decided I wanted to print off graphics from Jeff Barrett to hand out at our spot. So I printed out 150 of those in the morning. Got those. Drove up. I went to go meet Julia Bergeron, who's a co-founder of SCLA, of course, and I got some stickers and I got some other stuff from her. Had to talked with her, and Nathan was there. Nathan Barker was there. Got to talk for him for a while. Then went north up to Titusville because I was at Merritt Island, north to Titusville. Hold on, let me just drink.
Yeah, drink.
All right.
Come on,
Ooh,
man.
that
Catch
beer
up.
is definitely not good anymore. All right. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Stale beer.
Yeah. Drove north to Titusville to meet Ozzy. You know who Ozzy is, right?
Aussie.
Yeah.
That Ozzy?
I can't remember his
Probably
last name. I
not.
just know his name's Ozzy. He's the one who got the 321 area code for the area. So if you guys know, like, if you have to recall anything in the Space Coast area, it's the area code's 321 on the phone number.
Yep.
He's the
Yep.
one who pushed to get that to be the area code, and
Cool. Okay.
He's basically what we based Space Coast launch passes off. He does basically what we're trying to do at Space View Park. So he has his number 321 liftoff. Like that's his number. that's his personal phone number, which is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And so you can call that, and he'll answer it, and he'll give you all the questions. I answer all the questions you want about the launch. He has handouts for everyone. He streams at a Space View. He's like a local legend there. Got to finally meet him. Gave him some of the handouts they hand out to people. I don't even know if he even did or not. I had to talk with him a little bit. Then I'm like, well, I gotta get going to my spot. I was gonna go to Nickel Park, which is on US 1, southern part of the US 1. I'm trying to go to different spots to get the feel for the area some more. I've been stuck at 528 in the port area for so long. I need to do US 1. And went down there. And since the launch was at 11 p.m., county parks closed at, at sunset. But usually, yes, they do. County parks in Brevard County close at sunset, and
parks close at 11. Bars close at 2. Man, that's a terrible life for y'all.
Well, no, actually, the parks would close at 7. Technically, you could still, I think, be in the park. Not legal advice. Don't at me when you get arrested for whatever it's called. But
at Seth Kirk.
Don't ask Seth. No. So basically, normally for rocket launches, they'll keep they actually have gates on the parking lots there, and they'll shut the gates. Usually, they'll keep the gates open when there's a launch. Usually, I get there well after sunset, and the gates are still open. So I'm like, sweet, they left the gates open. I've been tweeting it out all the last couple of days that I'm going to be doing a live stream from Nickel Park. I'm going to be handing out SCLA stickers from Nickel Park and Jeff Barrett graphics from Nickel Park. I'm like tweeting all this stuff out. I get in there, I park, the moon was rising, so it looked really cool. I was taking some pictures of the moon. This truck pulled in, and I didn't see him. He just literally sat there for like 15 minutes, and then all of a sudden left. Hour and a half goes by. A friend was coming by to hang out. I'm like, oh, let me check the gate. It'd be funny if that got shut. Yeah, the gate got shut. Yep. And I'm sitting there with my rental car at, I don't know what now, it's like probably about 8:30 p.m. with my car. No, and it's a Ford Focus. I've rented it a few times. I ran through Turo. It's a really nice car, super low to the ground, and
I've seen it.
Those, like, everyone's like, well, just hop the curb. Just hop the curb. No. That car ain't hopping shit.
Wow.
And like I had like 20 people telling me what to do, like because I was telling people like in the Discord and some other people I was texting, like laughing about it, and I'm like I'm trying to think in my head like, okay, who should I call? It's a park service. It's way past. Like, no one's gonna answer there. Do I call local police? Do I call county? Do I call state? Like, who? Like, I'm just thinking all this stuff, and then one of my buddies just said, "Call the non-emergency number to the Brevard County Sheriff's. They're sending a deputy's on their way." And I'm just like,
Wow.
"Oh, okay." Two sheriffs there for about an hour and a half. Nicest guys in the world. I don't remember their names. I ended up giving them some stuff. They were super cool, and
Oh, nice.
super nice guys. But they kind of just get to the point where like, well, you can wait here with us. But most likely we're not going to be able to find you the key. Supposedly they were supposed to have the key,
Mm-hmm.
but they couldn't find it, and the supervisor had to go get it. And he was on a
Uh,
call, and he had to drive back. And they're just like, well, I guess I'll go. I'm
Jeez.
just walking distance to Port St. John boat ramp, which is another popular spot. And that's
Mm-hmm.
where I went. I ended up getting a call. They said they couldn't get it open till the morning, so I got like super early in the morning, Ubered over there before the social started, got my car, everything was fine. But I guess that goes past your day of the launch. So maybe let's transit
Oh
over to
man.
you about what you chose to do with your canceled 39 gantry tickets.
So, Friday morning, yeah, I see. Actually, Seth turned me on to this first.
Mm-hmm.
That's a poor choice of words. He sends me a tweet from somebody who said he got a call from KSC, the visitor center, not the actual KSC. We'd all love to get a call like that. Um, and it said they said that they were canceling the viewing tickets. For those who don't know, what you do is you purchase not a ticket for the spot where you're going to view from. You purchase a bus transportation ticket, yada, 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 splitting hair semantics, whatever. It's all the same thing. So they canceled that because the winds were blowing back on shore and there was a concern about uh, propellant exhaust blowing back at people,
Which is
which
not good to have. Noted.
no, it's not good to have.
Yeah.
And when you look it up, um,
You will die.
where
We would have died.
I mean,
I would
yeah,
have taken my risk, but we would have died.
I mean, I'd sign that waiver. I'd go stop an army surplus and grab a gas mask first, but I'd sign that waiver.
Yeah.
Well, no, when you look at it on a map, um, the pad where an Atlas V takes off from, it's really close to the LC-39 observation
miles,
gantry.
I believe. 2.6 to
Oh
2.8.
God,
It's
wish
clo-
I
and
need Atlas V pictures.
and
Um,
for context, anyone, the press site is 3.5 miles away.
yes,
Yep.
yes. In my opinion, I believe I said it on this show before. It's better than press if you can
Mhm.
get those tickets. That's why they sell out in an hour. So they cancel it because winds were blowing back on shore, which they were. I verified that. And the way it works, you'd have to look it up on maps. But if you correlate the maps versus the weather forecast, you can see. All right, I guess I understand. So call Seth. I'm like, Seth, they freaking canceled us.
Mm-hmm.
He's
We
like,
got
oh
canceled.
damn, we got canceled. So yeah, they're working on refunding my tickets. I canceled the Airbnb that Seth and I were gonna split, because we're best friends like that.
We are best
Not
friends.
like that. Uh, besties. Anyway, so after all that, like I saw Starliner OFT from the Saturn V Center. For one thing, they weren't offering that um, for Solar Orbiter, except, little side note, during the NASA broadcast of the launch, I watched it from my hotel room. Yeah, they had people there,
Hmm.
and those bleachers were not full.
Mm.
So,
It
kind
might
of
have been
calling
probably
y'all out.
ESA or NASA people probably,
And you know
or
what?
ULA people.
I've shared viewing areas with people who've worked on the spacecraft before, like when the mission that launched the Israeli Bereshit lander to the moon. I was talking to people who worked on that. You know, they were there with us. So there's no problem with commingling with the people who worked on this stuff. So yeah, I'm salty about that. But once all that happened, I said, screw it. I'm going to Wallops. I'm gonna go somewhere I haven't been before. Go see a launch vehicle I haven't seen before. My original plan was to go see Solar Orbiter in Florida. Then I had 2 days to make my way up to Wallops Island, Virginia, or thereabouts, and stay there and see that launch there. Well, the days got put together. We had a rare doubleheader coming, and I had to pick one. And this, I originally picked Solar Orbiter, and this is how it played out. So, Saturday, I made the drive up to Charlotte or Mooresville, North Carolina, where I am now. Woke up Sunday morning, 4 a.m., something like that. Started driving up to Virginia. By the way, I'm not used to this, so it really took me by surprise. I think I tweeted about it too. I'm used to paying $3 tolls to cross the bridge to Lake Pontchartrain back home, which is like right on the northern border of New Orleans. To cross the Chesapeake Bay was $14.
Yeah. I need to pay for that,
Oh,
man. I need to pay for the maintenance, bro.
jeez. And that was on a Sunday. It's one of those like varying tolls. It's never
Yeah.
constant. So I can imagine during the week it's
During
obnoxious.
rush
So
hour, it's probably like 20 or 30.
oh God, I had some people tell me, "Hey, you think that's bad? You ought to go to New York on a Sunday."
Yeah.
So I get up there, and uh, my buddy Zach Shaw told me about a really good spot, which I'm not going to share. And he'll be on the show in the coming weeks. Really cool guy. You can follow him on Twitter at Zach Shaw. You can search for him on Facebook, Zach Shaw or Zach Shaw Adventures. This is where he shares most of his photography work. Really great guy. He got out there before me. He drove up just straight from Florida. That's where he's from. Kind of camped out a little bit and set up his stuff and held a spot for me. And this spot, I don't want to talk about it too much in case of giving it away. It's one of those. It used to be a local secret, but the secret is out now, and it was out before I even showed up there. So not guilty. Sorry, locals, but I mean, I chase stuff on a regular basis now. I need these kind of spots. I love y'all. I would love these kind of spots. Um, so we get out there. It's nice and cold. Actually, let me step back a bit. The whole travel plans for all of this has gone completely nuts in the week leading up to this. Um, when I drove up to North Carolina, I drove up through Georgia. I passed through Atlanta. Not even halfway through the city of Atlanta. If you ever driven through it before, good God, it's Atlanta. All right. Hashtag never forget 28-3. Who that nation? Um,
Atlanta's a
I
big,
start.
busy city.
Jeez,
It's
is
so
it? I
crazy.
can. Seth, can you see my screen right now? So,
No, I cannot. Oh, yes, I can. Hold
all
up.
right. So this is what I started hitting. I started hitting snow. Like I'm born and raised in the swamps of Louisiana. I can count on one hand how many times I've seen snow, and I don't need all the fingers. I start driving through a freak snowstorm starting in Atlanta. All right. And it didn't start letting up until I hit the South Carolina border. So I was going through this for a few hours. All right. That's the first crazy part. All right. So I make it to my buddy's house here in North Carolina way later than expected. Wasn't even able to see him that night because he had to go out and do something. And the next morning, I wake up, drive to Wallops Island. Let me tell you, I've driven through Virginia before after the eclipse in 2017. It was nice. And you know what? The backcountry roads that you got to take to get to Wallops Island, just as nice, if not better. So I had a really beautiful drive getting up there. Went and met my buddy Zach and set up, getting to talk to the rest of the crowd. One thing I love about launches, whether they launch or scrub, all the crazy people you meet out there, wonderful people. You could just sit there and talk about the stuff all day with them. You could talk rocket launches, you could talk photography, you could talk anything with anybody out there. It's just always a great time, whether they launch or not. And in this case, we went the or not. we went with I worded that wrong. The alcohol's hitting me. So yeah, we get down to just about T0. They readjust the time of the window of a 5 minute window. All right, what are you gonna do with a 5 minute window? Not much, you
Yeah.
know. If you got a 2 hour window like Solar Orbiter had, yeah, you can do a lot with that. But with this one, 5 minute window. But hey, they did it. They readjusted. Nope, scrub. So, so we're all sitting there pissed off. I had an obnoxious setup. I had all four cameras that I own set up in some kind of way, including my cell phone mounted on top of one of them. I was going to do two different type of pictures. I was going to do two different types of video. I was going to do a streak shot, video on my cell phone, just a crazy, ridiculous setup. I drove all this way. Everybody was looking at me funny with how much crap I had set up, and I would just look at them and say, "Hey, look, I'm hedging my bets on getting something good."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Okay, I completely understand that. You do your thing, man." Everybody was taking pictures of my setup. Um, I had this ridiculous setup of oh god, I'm taking a chance here. Where is did I get a picture of
Oh
it?
gosh.
No. The ridiculous setup that I have mounted to my tripod now. It's the one I was supposed to use for IFA. I know everybody. Oh. Never mind. Let's quit doing that. I will show something completely NSFW on here. No, I had on my main tripod, I had two cameras mounted to it with two giant lenses trying to catch stuff. Like, that's how ridiculous my setup is, with a cell phone mounted on top of one of them to record extra video. Um, so it scrubs. I'm like, well, shit. Uh, let me start figuring out what I want to do. I waited for the crowd to go down because there was a lot of people at this little spot and really felt like the middle of nowhere farmland. And yeah, I wait a little while, break everything down. I'm like, man, I'm butt ass tired. I'm going to find a hotel. Drove my butt up to Maryland, got a hotel for the night, checked in, ordered a pizza, watched the Solar Orbiter launch, and passed my butt out. And then the next day I woke up, decided to go over to the Smithsonian, since it was, a quick 2.5, 3 hour drive over to DC, the DC area ish, whatever. Um, yeah, went to say hi to Discovery again. I'm actually working on some high quality stitch photos that I got of Discovery. Hopefully, I'll be sharing those soon if my MacBook wants to cooperate. I think it's just too much for it to handle. I might have to do them remotely at home. Um, and then I came back down to my buddy's house here in North Carolina, and that's where I'm at now. So, my plan for this weekend, the original backup date for the Antares was Monday. Well, that was a 20% chance with weather. Now they had a mechanical issue to deal with, or I don't want to say
It
mechanical,
was
but
sensor, wasn't it?
technical issue.
Yeah, it was an issue with
Some
someone
kind
with
of
a sensor.
regulator or telemetry. I
Yeah.
don't know. Let's just go with technical issue, non weather related issue. Let's go with that. Um, so to deal with that, wait for good weather and redo the late load because that's a really cool feature of Antares and Cygnus vehicles is that you can pop open the lid of the fairing and you can late load cargo into there like frozen food items, live experiments bound for the ISS. It's actually really cool.
Mhm.
And then they close it back up, lift it up, and we're going to space. So yeah, to do all of that and wait for good weather and fix the ground issue, they pushed it back to Thursday. Well, now it's Friday. And man, I'm really stretching myself here. Um, but the plan is wake up stupid early again because now it's at 4 something in the afternoon as opposed to 5 o'clock the other day. 5:39 was the original T0. So I'm gonna be there for that one. And as soon as that one is done, I am getting on the road. I may have to come back here, stop in North Carolina, drop my buddy off. He doesn't know if he's coming with me yet. And then I'm heading straight down to Florida for a Starlink launch at 10 something in the morning on Saturday. And you better believe I am going straight to a hotel room after that. Actually, I'll probably be so jacked up on adrenaline from the launch that I'll just go bum around KSC like I always do for a little while.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
the place I normally get a hotel, I can't check in till 3 anyway, and I launch at 10 in the morning. It's like need something to do. I can go sleep in their
KSC.
lobby. Yes,
You go take a hi
yes,
to say hi to Atlantis. And
of course.
yeah. My launch
I
though.
will I will see 2 space shuttles in 1 week.
Nice.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
will definitely be going to say hi to Atlantis. That's for
Um,
sure.
yeah. My launch though went a little bit. It went. So continue on with my launch because I wanted to make a break for your stuff and then come back to mine because I mean we're probably gonna go along this episode because we haven't even gotten to the state of NASA yet. and,
Oh,
and I'm gonna just blow. I could just talk about that forever, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
yeah. Let's get
I'm.
let's get to that.
We still haven't gotten to my second curse of the Atlas because I have 2 curses with the Atlas:
Oh, jeez.
car issues and
Uh
streak issues.
huh.
We talked about the car issue. The AEHF5 launch, my car died, and
Yeah.
now Solar Orbiter, my car got locked in the park. Now we can talk about the streak issues. In AHF5, I actually timed it. I actually did pretty well, but and that launch was a early morning launch, and so we were going to get the sun rising in the back with the backlighting the
Ooh,
exhaust with jellyfish.
yeah.
I cut my streak right as the jellyfish was starting. And it was and I cut
Oh.
it because I thought it was in frame and I didn't think that my lens could it wasn't wide enough. I thought it would be out of frame, and
Mm-hmm.
it was still in frame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sucked. This launch it continues, but I went my car got locked. I wasn't gonna get it out that night. I'm like screw it, we'll go on the Port St. John boat ramp. That's where everyone else is at, and that's where I wasn't. I probably could have taught the sheriffs into letting me stay there. I think they would have been completely cool with me staying at that park. But I'm like, I'm just gonna go just down the road. Packed up my stuff. Alex from Sidewalk Side Guy, he was there. He helped me
Mm-hmm.
out. He drove me all my gear down, and I was also running a pretty serious setup. I have 2 cameras. So one camera was running on for streak, one camera for stills. I was live streaming it on my phone for Space Coast Launch Ambassadors on the Twitter site, and then I had a GoPro on top of one of my cameras for a video, so I can have
Mm-hmm.
wide angle video for different launch viewing options. Because one
Yeah.
issue you always get with like launch viewing like guides is they show you a super close telephoto view of the pad, like at Playa Linda. You see pictures of Playa Linda launches, and you look like you're right next to the rocket.
Yep.
That doesn't matter where
Well,
you are. That rocket is tiny. Like you,
here's the crazy thing with where I was at uh, in Virginia, sharing my screen again, and I'm showing you. That is a mile and a half away. That is with for all of the shooters in the crowd that know photography stuff. I was using my Tamron 150 to 600 G2 with a 2 times extender, and the haze cleared up, and this came out. I mean this is just ridiculous. You could see the letters at this point frosting from the cryogenic propellants. It's that close and that detailed and that obnoxious. It was just
yeah,
oh man, it was just
and
beautiful.
and this is mine. I'll share my screen with you. This is my view. I'm not sure if you see it, but from Arabsat, from 13 miles away, and that's 13 miles. And if you see that and you want to, oh, I'm gonna go to 520 because you're gonna see that, you're not. You're not gonna see anything close to that. You're gonna see, of course, a little tiny white little speck out in the distance, and that's the rocket. You're gonna see the flames because it's super bright, but you're not gonna see that. That's not even close to what you can see with the naked
Nope.
eye. And that
Nope.
issues plagues a lot of different places. So that's why I bring my GoPro out. I zoom in a little bit so you don't get my camera lens in the video.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but so you can get a more realistic view of the launch. Um, And so I'm setting up my gear. I'm setting up. I got a new tripod. Has a ball mount on it. I set up my gear, tested it at home to make sure it all worked, but I didn't test it with the new tripod. And so when I had my camera with my streak, and I have a little like I don't know what it's called, but you can kind of put like a separate thing. You have it for your cameras. But you can kind of put two cameras next to each other, with one
Oh,
mount.
like just a little bracketing system.
Yeah,
You can configure those things all kinds of different ways.
yeah, and I have a little like a kind of a cheap one that came with my camera right away, one
Hmm.
of my kit, and I have a picture of it. Hold up, also a picture somewhere on my Twitter. Boop, ba, boop, boop. I'm gonna find it. Gonna find it. It's almost here. It's almost there. Oh gosh, I tweeted a lot.
Yes, you did.
Here it is. All right.
Ah.
So this was my original setup, and you can see my
Hmm.
phone. That's not actually my phone I use. I use my normal phone. That's my backup phone. That's my Twitter phone
Right.
for launches now. I actually figured that one out. That's what it's gonna be for. Um, but with the ball mount, it couldn't hold all that weight off to the side. It had the
Oh.
phone and it had the battery off to the side, and it was just tilting. I couldn't get it tight enough
Me,
to where it wasn't going to tilt to the side. And so I audibled, which I always audible at launches, about 15 minutes before launches.
me too.
I audibled, put it onto my other tripod that was going to be for my stills, put that underneath my stills camera, and then had my GoPro on top. The issue I had with that, and it was like 2 minutes for launch when I was finally getting it all set up and fixed everything, was I couldn't get it tight enough, and so it was more like hand holding a camera at that point, but with stuff below it. It was way worse than what it was originally, and
Jeez.
and so the stream was okay. Like it caught actually most of it. So now it's on a camera that I can move it around as well. But when I moved the camera, it wasn't moving my phone, and so I had to kind of move it all around. And like my stills came out
Hmm.
horrible because I couldn't get it. It wasn't getting in focus. Even though I had manual focus, I had an infinity. It wasn't, and
Right.
because it wasn't all set when I was taking those shots at night with a slower shutter speed, it
Mhm.
just was I moved it around too much. I ended up deleting all of my stills. Not a single one was useful.
I mean,
Um,
at that range, it's like, why bother?
and
You know.
because of the trees, I couldn't see the rocket. So I could see the
Yeah.
tip of the rocket, and I couldn't get that in focus. And I'm like, okay,
And, and,
well,
and that's what makes the cancellation of LC-39 so annoying for both of us.
yeah,
Because
I would have
my
had such
best
a
work
great shot.
has come from there. Oh yeah,
Hmm.
like I said, when I saw the Atlas that launched OFT, I saw it from the Saturn V Center, and even at that range, you're screwed.
Hmm.
You know, it's late December in Florida. It doesn't matter what time of year it is. You're in Florida. You got that haze, regardless of time of day. You're screwed.
Yeah, and that's
You've
what I
got
was.
literally
Yeah,
nothing worth sharing.
and and I started my GoPro video super late. I did it on IFA as well. I'm still trying to figure out when to start that. I should just start it early. But the main issue I had, which is my, my curse before, was a streak, and it
Mm-hmm.
came back again, and with a scenario that I never thought I would ever have, and I don't think a lot of other photographers would think that it would have this problem. But I use a remote shutter for my streaks, like most people do. Mine is a wireless shutter. Um, so it uses I don't know what it uses, but it uses the to remotely trigger the trigger the little thing that sits on top of my camera. And lo and behold, one of my friends who was out there doing photography with me had a remote shutter, a wireless one, that used the same frequency as mine. And so when he started his shot 10 seconds before the launch, it triggered my camera. And then when I triggered my camera to start, which I think I did a little late, whatever, it stopped both of our cameras. And then he noticed that it wasn't going, so he restarted both of our cameras without any of us knowing what was going on.
Oh,
and
jeez.
and basically I saw that, and like this is why, and like the
No,
best streak I've
that
ever
is
gotten, minus this, and here, I have it on my screen right now for you. Like, this is such a we had a full moon that night. I had a battle. There was no clouds. I think I did fairly well, And then I was able to stack it, and I just kind of like went with it. I'm like, my launch lagged. Like, I'm a Call of Duty player at heart, so I gotta blame it on the
You,
lag. You know?
you know what it is? You know what you call that? You call that a real life Kerbal launch.
and, and the funny thing was, so
That's asparagus staging happening right there.
and you know, like
That's
I
asparagus staging.
funny like I messed up my streak. I still love it. I still love this streak, honestly.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh
think I think I did well, especially with the full moon. Like that is definitely difficult. And
yeah.
the funny thing though was when we were, I don't think he has it. He might have deletes. Tori Bruno deletes a lot of tweets a lot of replies to my tweets. I don't know why. Like he
Oh,
replies to me and then he deletes
my,
it.
my meme of the week is gonna involve old Mr. Tory,
Yeah,
so get ready for
and
that, y'all.
I'm back. And when I was at the NASA Social, they actually had a T minus 3 hours for Solar Orbiter. And so I took a picture of it. I'm like, looks like a second shot. You doing a quick save, reverting the launch pad? And I'm like, yes, I'm gonna get a second shot. And it's gonna be daytime, but yeah, I'm gonna get a second shot. And he goes like, we'll be back in a few months. So like that sucks.
Yeah,
Uh,
they're excuse me, their next one, uh,
I believe it's
which
either
everybody, I believe it's NRL.
no. I think it's
Oh, no, no, no. I'm an
well,
idiot.
I don't
Don't
think it's
listen to me.
NRL. I think it's two Air Force launches I have. AEHF 6 and then a AFCP something as
Yeah,
well. I'm not sure
that's
which
it.
one's first.
And actually, on a side note, I got corrected on this on Twitter just last night, I believe. Only because I worded the tweet a little wrong, but the uh, the NASA broadcast of the Solar Orbiter launch, while they had some time to kill, they were talking about the Atlas and Centaur launch vehicle. The RL-10s on the Centaur, specifically referring to Atlas launches, will never fly in a single configuration again. Atlas Centaurs will always have dual RL-10s from here on out. So the Atlas configurations you see from here on out, and again, this is just Atlas, I had to correct myself on that, are always going to end in 2 when they use the configuration
Interesting.
numbers.
Because for the
Aha.
next two Atlas, there's
That's your
still
rocket
five.
science in a minute.
There's the next two of them. They still have their one. They still have ones. I know for the next two Air Force
Mhm.
launches. I think
Oh,
the one of them is still a 541, I believe.
we're going to have to get back to this on.
Yeah.
Get back
So
to
maybe
this, folks.
maybe like in the near future, but yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense because you don't. I feel like you can do more with that, just with having 2 inches
Yeah.
instead of one, because of how inefficient those are. But with
Exactly.
AHF6 coming up, though, you should keep an eye out on ULA launch, you, Daryl, and a bunch of other people, because ULA did their own social for AHF5. They didn't go through the air.
Yes.
They didn't go through the Air Force. They didn't go through NASA. They did their own social, and honestly,
Yes.
those are great. Those I
Yes.
thoroughly enjoyed the ULA social for AHF5.
I know.
Tori Bruno.
I-
We had Tori
I would-
Bruno for 45 minutes to
I
ourselves.
would love to meet the guy. I wanna borrow the hat and take a picture in it.
He doesn't
That-
bring his.
that's my
He didn't
goal.
bring his hat. He did said he have it. Literally, honestly, we had 45 minutes of asking him questions, talking about rocket stuff with him, and I finally get to ask him a question. And my question I asked him was, "Did you bring the hard hat?" Out of all the things I can ask, that's the only thing I can think of as asking. Where's the hard hat? And he goes, "I have it with me. I'm about to go put it on right now and go out to the launch pad." And I'm like,
Oh,
that's all I could think of to ask him. Yeah.
but you know what? If I ever get into a ULA social, everyone else is going to be asking about the launch vehicle, the payload, and things like that.
Yep.
I know my dumb ass will raise my hand and ask him something completely ridiculous, and
I asked 2 ridiculous
that's
questions.
me.
And after that
That's
social, I
me.
realized I am horrible press. I would make horrible press, horrible questions. I asked the question. I can't remember what it was. I'm like, I asked, do you still use the RD-180s on the Atlas? Duh, of course they still use RD-180s. Like, I asked them, like, do they still
That's-
do you still use Russian rockets? Like,
Like,
duh, of course I do. Like, I could have Googled that answer. But of course, I raised my hand and asked, like, the mission. I can't remember what his
cannot
title
believe
was.
you.
Some engine.
I don't know
He was
you,
some.
Seth.
He was some like communications guy. I asked instead of just googling it.
Oh, you trying to make that guy? You trying to trip that guy up?
I don't know, man. Maybe I
I
was.
would
Maybe I was.
I
Maybe
I I would do that.
maybe deep
I
down
would be
inside
that.
I was being a good journalist, but no, I'm a horrible
I,
journalist. Um,
no, I would be that guy. Actually, I tweeted out the other day while I was at the Smithsonian. You know how they do those guided tours, kind of like they do of the Saturn V at the Saturn V Center in
yeah,
Florida
in
and
the
whatnot.
rocket
They,
garden,
yeah,
which
they
I
they
tripped them
did
up so
one.
many times in a rocket garden. They don't get this stuff right half the time.
Dude, I this guy at the Smithsonian, I really wanted to just it. I really wanted to be that guy, and I guess I should have been drinking beforehand because I probably would have had the courage to do it. But this guy was talking about, the how tiles would fall off and everything like that, and they would fall off during reentry and everything like that. I'm like, uh, what? The only time it fell off during reentry and they survived. I mean, and I'm grossly uh, understating this, but it was one of those missions where there happened to be a solid hunk of aluminum or steel underneath, and it was able to take the heat. But pretty much they get knocked off by aerodynamic forces in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Re-entry doesn't knock off the tiles. And this guy wanted to say they get knocked off in re-entry. I'm just
I
standing
mean, if
there
he says
behind the
if he meant
crowd.
re-entry as in like land the whole thing, but yeah, re-entry really means re-entering the atmosphere. Um,
Yeah, I didn't stick around for the whole tour, so I let it go. But I really wanted to be that guy,
yeah,
and I had a couple people encouraging me, but I'm like, no, I'm not going to be that guy. I already did it once at the Saturn V Center in Florida, when I had to. I, I didn't really correct him. It was before I did my homework. I asked him about the Saturn V first stage that was built at Michoud in New Orleans, and what I've heard is that it was actually meant to fly on Apollo 18, which Fred Hayes was going to command. That's why it was moved to Mississippi and taken away from Michoud. And the guy said, "Oh no, that was just a test article. Like it was never meant to fly." Like really? Because it sure doesn't look like a test article. Not like
yeah,
not like you see nowadays where they're not painted and they got little springs for engines and whatnot, like SLS Pathfinder. It really doesn't look like a test article. So I avoided being that guy.
yeah.
So.
And Monday, yeah. So next up, Monday we had State of NASA go up,
Hmm.
which is kind of like it's basically their it's a re talking about what Trump talked about in State of Union, but primarily for NASA.
Right.
So all this it's a very political type of event for NASA, and of course NASA's a public it's a federal agency, so it's obviously tied with politics, and we don't talk about politics really as much as we try not to. But that's kind of what it was, and in talking with it, you kind of we got a lot of cool facts, a lot of fun new things, and a lot
We
like
got a
our sort
lot
of
of enthusiasm. Holy
a lot of
crap!
a lot of increased funding was great, and I was of course got lucky enough to go to the NASA social for it, which was fun. Got
Hmm.
there in the morning with my car out of the pound. Um,
I
I
turned it down.
you turned it down, yeah, whatever. And
I turned.
yep, just sit there, and it was really. I got to go in the VAB for the first time. Finally, I finally got one of those. I finally got to be in the VAB. I finally got to go. We went around 39A. Hold up, do I have pictures of Hold on.
Dude, I would have seen the B2 test stand.
Mhm.
Like I would have been really close to it. Oh my
and
god.
and it's crazy being in the VAB because I walked in. We walked into that like that extension that they built for the shuttle that they could tow the shuttle in, so it's much
Hmm.
smaller. And that's where we walked into, and I'm sitting there I'm like, oh wow, this is huge! Like look how tall the ceiling is. That's so big. It's like 4 stories or something like that. Like something like it's like it's compared to the VAB, it's freaking tiny. And I'm like, oh my gosh!
I mean,
And he goes, well, let's go into the low bay here. And I'm like, oh my god, the low bay. Oh my god, it's so big.
low,
Holy crap.
low bay.
Low bay.
Did he
And
say
then
it? Air? Did he say it in air quotes?
no, he said low bay. And then he
Oh.
goes kind of he starts slowly walking over slowly, and all of a sudden we like right up to the entrance of the one of the high bays, and I'm just like, oh my freaking god. Like it's so
Stop.
big. I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, I was thinking, I have a really great picture of our tour guide. Because I went with like the wide angle camera a lot this trip. Because like when you're dealing with such massive objects, you just gotta do the wide angle. I have a
Yeah.
picture of him standing there because we couldn't go past him into the high bay. We could only walk up to him, and so he's
Mm-hmm.
standing there with his hands on his shoulder. I think they're actually in his pockets, but like kind of like they look like it's on his shoulder, like
Mm-hmm.
kind of at the bottom at the floor, looking straight up into the high bay, and he's just standing there with his chest out. Just he was such a photogenic tour guide. He was great, and I'm gonna eventually get those all on Twitter. Yes, we went to the VAB, went to 39B. That's crazy. I have pictures of those. Oh wait, hold up. Hold up. This is more important. Turtle.
Oh,
Sorry, tortoise.
yes.
Actually, is a tortoise.
I don't know the
I have.
difference.
I'll be honest with you. I took about 300 pictures. And like I took probably of all like the groupings of pictures that I took. So like the grouping of pictures from the VAB, the grouping from the press room, the grouping from the launch pad, and all the other places. I have
Mm-hmm.
more of this turtle than all of the rest.
Hmm.
We're walking up to the
Wow.
press. We're walking back to the press building for the for the state of NASA, and there's turtle coming out of his little hole, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a turtle! And everyone's freaking out, and it's me and Crystal Starshatter on Twitter. Me and
Mm-hmm.
her are the last two people out there taking all these pictures of this turtle. And we turn around and no one's there. Not even.
Did y'all
not,
name him?
We did
Does
not
he have a
name it.
name?
No, we decided not. We decided to leave the tortoise unnamed. You know, Rocket
Wow.
Turtle. We can call it Rocket Turtle.
Mm,
Blue Origin. That's what it is. It's
no.
a turtle. It's a tortoise. It's super slow.
He's not blue. Jesus. Oh man!
Alright,
If
and
if you're gonna name something super slow, name him Internet Explorer.
there we go. AOL. Um,
God.
and oh my gosh, dude, we had a lot of fun. We went to the ISS processing facility, and I could talk about like when we went into it was like the veggie lab. I can't remember the vegetation lab. They call it the veggie lab, but I don't know what exactly it was. And there's this, it's like kind of like the group that manages those two. There's two, um, like labs or whether they're two objects up on the ISS that they can grow fruit and vegetables from or vegetation from.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the lab that manages that, and they're trying and they can do tests on the ground before it goes up to ISS to make sure they can actually grow the stuff. And they figure out problems on how to grow certain things. So right now they've tested. I think they've grown like lettuce and like cabbage and a whole bunch of like kind of like leaf stuff, spinach and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they're gonna send up. I believe it's on the Cygnus. They're launching peppers.
Ooh,
To the ISS.
that'll make the space food more interesting.
Yeah, and they actually had the peppers like they had their own little test article in their little testing facility growing peppers and how they're going to be grown. And I don't think I have a picture of that. Let me just keep scrolling.
You know what I'd love to do one day?
Not on
I would
Twitter.
love
Okay.
to get
I
a
have it on
hold
my
of
my camera.
actual. I would love to get a hold of actual astronaut food. I've got a buddy of
Yeah,
mine back in New Orleans.
I held
Everybody
some
should check him out. He
seeds.
goes by Mo Munchies, and he does food reviews. And I would love to get him to review astronaut food, not the bullshit astronaut ice cream they sell in the gift shop, but like some more of the real astronaut food that they send up. I would love to try and get him or somebody like him to review actual astronaut food. That'd be great.
Yeah, and they sent up peppers. They're working on trying to get to send up tomatoes, like little like baked, and they had this test thing. And I have a picture of it on my camera, not on my phone though, of a of like they're doing 4 different tests, 4 different types of kind of like ways of growing it, and there's this one that has like almost no leaves. You see like no leaves. You're looking at those are worse. And the ones in the back have so many leaves, and they're great. And they ask like, which one do you guys think is the most like bountiful? Like that's like the healthiest fruit, or the healthiest like set of tomatoes. And they go like, I'm like, well, obviously the one with the most leaves. That one actually produced the worst amount of tomatoes. You actually because the leaves take up all the nutrients and all the nutrients from the water. And the way they did it, so they the tomato seeds that they use in the process of fertilizing the tomato seeds that they have, there's a lot of tomatoes and almost no leaves. You don't need a lot of leaves in the space station because there's not a lot of light. Most of it will be coming through
Yeah.
the water. I mean, they have their LED lights up there, but you really don't want big amounts of light because those are going to take up most of the energy. And that was really cool.
Yeah.
We were talking about so much stuff, and I'm sitting there like, I just kept on asking like different fruits, because right, I'm like, oh, you have tomatoes. You have like, what about like other fruits? Like, what about what about apples? Or what about watermelon? Like yeah, it goes like just going on and on and on about like, well, yeah, we would love to have apples, but like you can't grow an apple tree in space, so you have to find a way to mineralize that. Which he goes, and by the way, they mineralize plums, so we can find a way to mineralize plum trees, and then they have microgreens, and then we have like, and then I asked him grapes, and he just goes, oh my god, yes, I would love to send grapes to space because
Dude,
I
can
have.
you imagine how much a space wine bottle would cost?
He goes,
Oh my
and
god.
he's like I have no idea how vines will grow in space. And I'm like, well, like, what do you think that would happen? Like, dude, I don't even know. Cause, like, how do you even test that? Like, vines,
I,
how do vines grow? You'd have to learn how vines grow, and then you would have to learn how that's going to interact in gravity with no gravity. And the only way to test that is to send into space. And so, like, I'm now like fully, let's put grapes in space. Like, I want to see this, and I want them to have like ISS winery. Like, I want that. That
so
would be
wait.
so freaking
So
awesome. And, like,
so while you were there, in honor of Mark Watney, did they try growing potatoes at
I
all?
think they've tried, and actually, I'll be honest with them. Like, I asked them that question. I'm talking with the guy, and I just go, okay, I have to ask, how close were they in The Martian? And he goes, well, other than the fact that he didn't like clean the shit, it probably would. It might have worked. And they actually have like Martian so that he actually chemically recreated what they think Martian soil will be like. Him
Mm-hmm.
and then another professor at I can't remember which college he said. I think it was UCF,
Mm-hmm.
University of Central Florida.
Yeah.
One of the professors, they chemically made Martian soil, and I think they're trying to test stuff. And I'm just like, and this is a lab that like they're not like people ask me afterwards like, oh, is it like Disney, with their farm? And I'm like, okay, yes, Disney is trying to. They have this like their farm at Epcot where they're trying to change the way you grow
Yep.
plants. But that's
Yep.
here on Earth. They're trying to change the way you grow plants here on Earth. They're trying to figure out how the hell do you grow plants on the moon and on Mars. And then they're using the ISS to test those possibilities. But
Hmm.
they're going to have to change those because, like I said, maybe they can use Martian soil in their material because they have to have some sort of soil. It's not like you would think it is. It's more like he said it's more like kitty litter.
Mm-hmm.
The soil that they use, and then they kind of push it, but like it's really root based how they grow their stuff. Like their roots are huge, much larger than normal roots are, and that's kind of how they get all their nutrients to the plant. Um,
Right on.
but dude, I could talk about that. Like I could talk about the social so much. It was so much freaking fun.
I can tell.
We went to the
And here I
astro.
am turning one down.
It's okay. So is Star Shattered. So is Crystal from. She's turned them. She gets accepted left and right. Like
What the hell?
I don't like.
You know what? I need to reach out to her and see what she puts in the application form that gets her accepted.
So does John
Because
Manuel.
I swear I gotta be wording my stuff wrong.
Yeah.
I've gotta be.
This is only
I
the
gotta
third
be,
one
like, trying
I've
to-
applied to. I've only applied to 2 others before this, and I guess I didn't even think I was gonna get accepted. I didn't make plans. I just yeah. So
No, you gotta do all of them, man. You gotta play the law of averages.
I my thing on socials is that I love to do them for the media days, like the media stuff, the social days beforehand, but I'm not going to the press site. And you
Really?
kind of have to do both if you do socials. They kind of won't let you choose, especially for NASA. In the email said if you have to do all of it, and I'm assuming that also means for like launches. Yeah, if you're gonna
Mhm.
do it, you have to do both the viewing and that. I know that's probably not the real rule that you can kind of. I just like I'm an outreach guy. I like doing the public stuff. That's where
Right.
I'm at. Um,
Hey, that's understandable.
yeah, but and that's why I would love to. Yeah, and whatnot. But yeah, we also went to. I think our last thing. Our last stop was the astronaut ramp. And let
Hmm.
me just pull up this video. It's a pretty sick video. I have to say so myself.
Yes, indeed. Wow.
Look at us.
Is
Look at
that's obviously who's
this.
that guy in a black shirt? I've never met him before.
This. Oh yeah.
That's
Look at
that
the.
weird looking dude in that black shirt.
Yep.
Is that Crystal and John?
Yeah, that's Crystal and John.
Yes, indeed.
Um, and
Right on.
we got that. We had a lot of fun with that ramp. And that ramp, I'll be
That
honest,
is
that
cool.
ramp is such a like I don't want to say like it's such a normal ramp. Like there's
Oh
nothing.
yeah,
It literally
nothing
it looks like
special.
it's in like the back of like a receiving area at like a grocery store. Like it's just this ramp, you know. There's nothing to
It's
it.
like a ramp at a nursing home or something.
Pretty much, like it pretty much is. Right next to some astronaut parking, which of course I got a picture of myself with the astronaut parking,
Oh,
obviously. Um,
nice.
you know, and when we left that area, also like
Hmm.
I totally missed it. We walked past the astronaut parking. We and then we like kind of went a little kind of a corner, not like a real corner, but like kind of a little bit around a corner to the ramp. We're sitting there, we're taking all these pictures. We come back to the ramp, and there's two cars parked in the astronaut parking area.
Oh,
We missed two astronauts park and walk somewhere.
damn.
Cause
Parking
remember,
walks. Wow.
because all we wanted to do was walk down the stupid ramp. Yeah,
Jeez.
I got to play photographer there for a while because we were taking pictures of each other coming down the ramp, and so I have some good amount of pictures with of some people walking down the ramp, and yeah, I took my card out just for when some people walk down the ramp. I just held down the trigger with the shutter,
Hmm.
so it just sounded
Yeah.
like a whole bunch of people taking pictures of them.
Click, 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 click,
Yeah,
click,
I'm
click,
like,
click,
I can
click,
go
click,
back
click.
on the bus. I can get my flash, and I can start doing flashes like.
Flat? What? No. Sorry, I hate shooting with a flash.
It has his things sometimes when you need
Yeah.
light.
Sometimes.
No, and
Well,
yeah, we went to
damn.
39B. 39B is so big and like
Hmm.
yeah.
Oh, did you hear? Yes, you did, because you made a comment about it. Did you hear? I'll still ask the question. Did you hear about this guy, this some kind of weird thing that happened with this dude who got like trespassed out
Okay,
of 39B?
yeah. So what happened is that, um, and of course it's sad. Like the guy passed away and it's sad and everything. But
Yes, yes, he did.
this reporter for a local news site in Orlando clickbaited the crap out of us, all of us. The stuff that he was putting in his title had nothing to do with each other. So I want to say it's I don't remember how long ago it was, but it was like I know there's 10 days and 2 days, but I think it was I don't remember what it's like 10 days before he died. I think it was something like that.
Mhm.
Or 10. It was either 10 days before he died or 10 days ago. This guy broke through. He went up to one of the gates. If you guys have ever driven around Kennedy Space Center, you know how easy it is to run into a security checkpoint for Kennedy Space Center or the Air Force Station, and because you just turn a corner and all of a sudden there's one right there, and there's really nothing you can do because the roads are so narrow in some points. And so the security guards are pretty nice. Like they're pretty assertive that you can't be here. Like they have to be. They're security guards, but they're pretty nice and they'll like, you're like okay, like you give them your ID. Usually some do. Some will take your ID. You make a U-turn and then you give it
Oh
back to them.
no.
What?
No, nothing.
Okay, sorry. Some will just you make a U-turn, you keep going. They're pretty nice, but they're assertive about you can't be here. This guy went to his checkpoint
Yeah.
and he just kept going. So he kept going. He ended up breaking through a few gates, crashed his car near 39B, near the gate to go to 39B. So probably a mile from the pad. To be honest, it was still pretty far away. Totaled his car.
What?
No,
Okay.
his title had nothing. His title was completely false. It was not even close. totaled his car.
So wait,
He got arrested. He got
so what I
transported
saw
off.
was that he actually made it to 39B
He
and
didn't.
parked like on the, you know how it inclines
Yeah,
up
he said he
and
found himself on top of 39B. No, he wasn't. He was at the. He crashed his car into a trailer near the gate to 39B. So I'm not sure how far away. What? There are several gates to 39B. So I'm not sure what gate to 39B it was.
You know, all of this, I was like, hey, that's Florida, man.
Yeah, and then
Hashtag
he
Florida.
got arrested. He got some charges stuff. He got transported off, and then sadly a few days later he got hit. I think he got hit by a train and he passed away. So
Yep. Train.
which is sad and everything. But the guy who wrote the story, it wasn't even close. It wasn't even like it's just straight up clickbait. And Emer Kelly, I always mispronounce his first name, but from Florida Today, he cleared it up right away. Like he was tweeting people out like right away, clearing everything up.
Yeah, like somebody was going on the news with it and everything about this. Like
yeah, it was
like,
a reporter from a local station that was gonna put it was on TV, and some people watched it, and it wasn't. It was horrible. It was absolutely terrible.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go back and check it out.
Yeah.
Damn.
But we have one more piece of news though that happened today, on the day of recording. Mars 2020 has landed in Kennedy Space Center.
Oh, yes, it has.
It took off last night, I believe, from no, it was last night. It was early this morning, from Jet Propulsion at JPL in California. Loaded up on a C-17, and it landed at the shuttle landing facility in Kennedy Space Center. So we are so close.
We're getting close.
And I honestly, there's a picture on Twitter of the empty, the building that has been in forever. The pictures, every single picture. They posted a picture of it being empty, and I kind of got a little sad. Like I was a little like super excited, but a little sad no longer that the rover's no longer going to be in there unless God forbid there's an issue that has to go back. But yeah, that was
tweeted out by. I'm probably gonna botch his name, but hey, that's a story of my life. It happens to me. Bobak Ferdowski. He kind of became the face of Mars landers over the last decade or so. Because when you see the videos of the folks in the control rooms that they have at JPL that actually control the landers, this is the guy who has the crazy hairstyle. He does like a different one for every lander that he works on. He has like a mohawk with a crazy color or something like that. Really cool guy, smart, knows his stuff. And he actually tweeted out that picture of the empty clean room. Excuse me. He tweeted out a picture of it. They have like a token license plate on the back.
Oh yeah, from California.
Yeah, from California, something.
I'm not sure because it's JPL. They do so well with like the little tiny bits.
Yeah.
Their license plate expires in 2021, so it is a valid license plate.
Oh, it is. It's a real license plate?
I don't know if it was actually a valid license plate, but they made sure that the expiration date on it wasn't expired.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you imagine like a California state trooper pulling over a Mars rover?
Yeah.
Like the container containing a Mars rover. Like that would. I don't know. I don't know what I would do if I was that cop. It's crazy. But, so yeah, that's
it's over here now. Kate getting processed and getting ready to be put on top of his Atlas rocket, which I will be going to, and hopefully there's no curse there.
Yes.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, exactly. So to wrap things up today, we'll stick with the Atlas V. I've got my meme for the week. I'm already ready with mine. Seth, if you want to find one real fast. We feel like the meme for the week is
we missed something really important.
Show.
We missed something really important.
Gerst.
The Gerst. William Gerstmeyer. What was his title? He was head of manned spaceflight, right? Or human spaceflight.
NASA. Or human spaceflight.
He was the assistant administrator for human spaceflight, I believe. And he got quote unquote. He kind of got demoted with the whole shakeup with crew and everything with personnel. And he was kind of like an advisor now to another assistant administrator. He is no longer with NASA. He has been holding his cards tight working as a public servant for like 30 some odd years. He's going to the private sector. He's officially a consultant with SpaceX. He'll be consulting under Hans. He's working with the cruise space flight over there at SpaceX. So which is huge for SpaceX, huge for commercial crew.
Yes. Yes.
I would honestly say it's a loss for Boeing again. Like you don't want to keep on kicking them as they're down, but honestly, they got Gers. Like, come on, like.
I mean, he was a direct NASA employee, not really a Boeing employee. I think
Well,
he
I
dealt
know,
with
but
like about evenly in
if
his role
Gers
at
was
NASA.
up for hire, SpaceX got him, not Boeing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like that's a huge win for SpaceX over Blue Origin, Boeing, Sierra Nevada. A lot of people who are trying to launch humans that they got. Gersmeyer, who is a brilliant mind, a brilliant person, and it's gonna hopefully push their whole crew program.
The man's
faster.
been around for a while. He knows what he's doing.
He definitely knows what he's talking about.
It's a big win. So yeah, now that we squeeze that out, we are running a little long. Let's wrap things up with our meme of the week, or week and a half in this case, since we're recording on what day? It's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
Right? All right, we usually do this on Monday with me being out of town and the launchers and all that bullshit. It's really thrown us into a kerfluffle, but hey, that's life when you're doing this kind of stuff.
Are you going first?
Seth, if you want to take a second to look one up, I am gonna share mine. I'm not gonna throw it up on the screen just yet. I'm gonna give some backstory to it. So there is a certain launch photographer, very popular guy, does some pretty good work, really great work. His name's Trevor Malman. I probably mispronounced that, but hey, sorry, dude. It is what it is. Something like that. He threw up a picture while he was setting up pad remotes for the solar orbiter of the Atlas V, and he tweeted out a picture of it, which included an image, close-up image of the artwork on the fairing, which is all hand painted. And then this happened. Here it comes. If you're looking at the screen, somebody was dumb enough to say that is one ugly fairing. And guess who picked up on it? Tori freaking Bruno. The legend. The legend. The man, the myth, the legend, the probably ULA sniper. Oh, I went there. Yes. He caught that. No, we only say that jokingly. We don't. It's not an honest thing. We do love you, Tori. You're really cool, and your company does awesome work. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. He happened to pick up in a comment, somebody pick it up saying that is one ugly fairy, and if you can see in the screen that got shared, he's like, excuse me? And that's when he went on to explain that it's hand painted by a sign maker. I forget the specific details, but I think it's one of those like small town sign makers that does really quality, really excellent work and whatnot. And it's like, hey, what the hell is wrong with you, dude? You're like stepping on somebody's hard handcrafted work right there. Like handcrafted work still goes into this stuff, not even just painting a fairing, but even on the vehicle itself.
I love his response. It's just like, are you really that's ugly?
Yeah.
Really? Come on.
Like, excuse me? It was the way the exchange played out, especially in these three tweets right here. Again, the original tweet coming from Trevor Malman, somebody else running his mouth, talking that smack on Twitter, and Tori Bruno catching on like, excuse me, what did you say? It really played out kind of funnily, and the guy ended up, as we say back home, crawfishing. It's basically where you like kind of backtrack on your words and things like that. So he got caught, busted.
For mine of the week is actually one of me. It includes myself because I'm narcissistic and I like it. And I'll be honest, I'm going to say I became a meme this week with my launch. I mean, it only got like 11 likes on Twitter, but you know what? The Falcon 9 Block 5 Twitter account tweeted my picture, and tweeted out my streak. You can see with the line through it, and he goes, "The drone ship feed during landing be like my streak." Absolutely perfect until right to the end. You know, at one little part, it all cuts out, and also it reappears at the end. Even though it's the
Totally
opposite.
accurate.
Yep.
Jeez.
And you know what? I laughed so hard at that when I saw he retweeted that and said that. I'm sitting there in the parking lot of that boat ramp, and I just started dying laughing. That was like that was absolutely great.
Jeez.
But, yep.
So yeah, I think that's gonna wrap it up for us for this week. I guess what we have to look forward to, Seth, you're not gonna make it up.
No,
I
I'm
should
not
say
gonna make it up this
for
weekend.
Starlink. Okay, well, folks, if you keep an eye on my Twitter at Sauce Images, SAUSSE Images on Twitter, also my Facebook, Daryl Sauce Photography, Instagram, D Sauce Photo. I don't do shit on Instagram anyway. I don't like it. It's a pain in the ass. I don't like it, but I have to try to maintain it. As I said earlier, I've got the Antares launch coming up, which I've never seen, which is actually proving to be great practice for when Rocket Lab starts taking off. I have decided that I will be back for their first launch.
Yeah, I want to go too.
Yes. So yes, big road trip. Me and my buddy Zach Shaw, who I mentioned earlier, we're planning on something too. So Seth will work you into there, and
I might just fly
Zach
up
Shaw will,
somewhere and you can pick me up.
you're willing to trust the TSA with your camera gear? Because I'm not. Hell with that.
I'll carry it on. It's all gonna be carry on.
There,
Yeah.
there you go. It's going to be a big old group trip the first time Rocket Lab launches. I'm going to be there for the Antares launch this Friday, and Saturday I hopefully, probably, hopefully should make it down to Florida in time for a Starlink launch. So I'm doing a quick turnaround doubleheader. Hopefully my best friend
dead.
Brandon comes with me so he can drive back here to his house so that he can get out the car and go to bed, and I can keep going down to Florida, and I can get out pictures of Antares right there while we're driving, get in a nap, get in some extra sleep at like a rest stop or something like that, and just keep going to Florida. And if anybody wants to hang out with me, if you never met me before, if you want to meet me on Saturday after Starlink, good luck to you. Bring a lot of Red Bull, because I'm a
I'll be
Red
honest.
Bull.
What I use after the social, which I saw from Peter McKinnon, he's a YouTuber, he's a photographer YouTuber. He went through what he was in his camera bag, and he said he always keeps I think a 5 hour energy in his bag. Only not. He said he doesn't use it for when he needs to get more work done. He doesn't use it when he's on set and needs to get more work. He says he only uses it. He'll drink like the entire bottle of it when he's driving, so you can stay in the lanes.
Yep.
And I've honestly had like driving home late at night after a rocket launch can get pretty dangerous with how tired you get, because you don't think you get that tired.
Yeah.
But standing around waiting for a launch, you get pretty tired and staring at a thing. So I did that for my social drive home, and it honestly helped. So
it was bad for IFA. Like being there, just like using your muscles to maintain your own stability on that boat, and then myself and a different friend of mine drove back to New Orleans right after that. Whew, I was butt ass tired.
Yeah,
let me tell you.
You get really tired going to launches. You don't really think about it, but you really do. Yeah.
But this is the life we lead.
Yep. So. And I will be. You can follow me on all my social media pretty much as Seth Kirk. I'll be live streaming. The launch is coming up on my Twitch. It's also Seth Kirk. Branding, bro. Seth Kirk, everything, bro. On Instagram, I'm Seth Kirk. Twitter, Seth Kirk. Twitch, Seth Kirk. YouTube, Seth Kirk. Yeah.
Hey, you remember earlier when you said you didn't want anybody atting you about stuff? There you go, folks. At Seth Kirk.
At me, whatever. Yep. So I'll be live streaming that on my Starlink. So I'll probably do it on the STLA Twitch account if it's local. So I'll be probably live streaming the Cygnus. What time's the Cygnus launch again?
4
a.m.
No, God.
4 p.m. 4 p.m. on Friday, right?
It's 4 and some change.
It's on Friday, right? Is it on Friday?
Yes, it is on Friday.
I won't be. I'll be at work, so I won't be able to stream that one. But No, it's, at like 10 something a.m. though. For Starlink, I'll be probably on the Coast SCLA Twitch account streaming that.
We are looking at 4:43 p.m.
Yeah, I'll be at work for that. Darn. But yep, follow me
Well,
on there.
I won't be live streaming it, but you could follow the online webcast of the launch and then look for my pictures right after that.
Yep, and you'll be looking forward to some more of my pictures from the State of NASA Social on my Twitter coming up this week. I'm still trying to get through them all. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Have a good. See you guys next week.
Yep. See y'all later.
Come on, Daryl. Process, Daryl. It just says Daryl for your name. I'm just making sure it actually freaking worked.
I mean, yeah.